person that looks forward more than looks back. When I started 50 years ago as an entrepreneur, the word entrepreneur I don't think existed. I think an entrepreneur is somebody that creates something that makes a positive difference to other people's lives.
As well as buying the latest hit record, you'll be able to get an air ticket to New York from Virgin Shops in June.
Have you ever thought about going into space, Richard?
I'd love to go into space.
Cheers.
Cheers. I'm a born optimist, a very positive person. Brian.
Yes, Sir Richard.
Just try to be yourself.
Okay.
Both my children have inherited that from me. And I was very lucky. I had a very happy childhood. Now, you shouldn't think, Archbishop.
Just go.
One of the things I enjoy the most is teaching people to swim. It's wonderfully satisfying to help them stand on their own 2 feet.
That was brilliant. Why do you have so much money?
The exciting thing about learning to be an entrepreneur is then later on in life you can be creating not-for-profit businesses and not-for-profit things to try to deal with the problems of the world. I've been lucky enough to help create the Elders, which is a wonderful group of people that are trying to tackle conflict resolution issues in the world.
The Elders can become a fiercely independent and robust force for good.
The Oceanic Elders to try to tackle the problems of the oceans. The Carbon War Room to try to tackle climate change. My attitude in life is to give everything I can to solve a problem. I get enormous satisfaction trying to achieve something that has never been achieved before. The wonderful thing about Virgin Orbit is it literally can help transform people's lives around the world.
Fire, fire.
I've always been a dreamer. My mum taught me to never give up and to reach for the stars. My favourite phrase to all the people around me is, screw it, just get on and do it.
Welcome to space.
If we can do this, just imagine what you can do.
Please welcome Sir Richard Branson. Hello, Richard.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm extremely well. Just cut myself shaving, so I'm waiting. I'm going to put you at the ready. And if it starts bleeding, let me know.
All right, all right. Well, where are we speaking to you from?
I'm fortunate to be on Necker Island, which is a beautiful part of the world in the British Virgin Islands. So I'm a little bit spoiled today.
Got it, got it. Well, we're really excited to have you and listening to the video, transforming people's lives, tackling the greatest problems in the world, satisfaction in making a difference, certainly goals we all aspire to live by, and really appreciate everything that you have been doing and are doing in these arenas. You know, we've spent the last couple of days or so at this symposium bringing together very diverse groups of people from around the world with hundreds streaming in to really focus, talk about the future and creating solutions so that we can be better prepared for the next pandemic and make global development more sustainable, equitable, and healthier for all. You've certainly been part of this global network and created a nonprofit that's tackling these challenges and others in the environment that we hear about very frequently. Your video was such a great introduction, so I want to just jump into conversation with you, Richard, and focus our very brief time together on what we can learn from your entrepreneurial philosophy of screw it, let's do it. So what I want to ask is, scientists have been exploring and tackling the issues around pandemics and other infectious disease threats that I know you know about, HIV, TB, malaria, etc. We want to learn from you. What can we do to take bigger risks, to think out of the box, to help us be better in sustaining a healthy humanity with these threats upon us? What would be your contribution, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's incredible what scientists have managed to do in the decades that I've been alive, and in the last 2 or 3 years. I mean, the speed that that scientists worked with COVID was wonderful and remarkable, and you know, I may owe my life, may owe my life to them. You may owe your life to them. So incredibly grateful. So no, I think, you know, my attitude in life is if you don't try, there's no way you're going to succeed. And you know, we've just got to, you know, we've all just got to, you know, try a little bit. You know, if we think something's difficult, just go for it. Just try it. And you know, you may fall flat in your face, especially if you're developing a drug or something, 99 out of 100 times. But on that 100th time, you might save a lot of lives, like it's been saved in the last few years.
You know, thank you very much. You know, we're all feeling in the scientific and public health community around the world that there's really no time to waste. I mean, we know that these infectious disease threats will only increase further. We have issues with vaccine equity, just as we have problems with, or challenges with, climate and poverty. We feel we have to act now. But, you know, history, we're not learning history very well, because when the challenges kind of go away, so do the funders. So when the crisis is over, we quickly forget. In fact, some people actively work against the greater good of public health. What have you found works that counteract some of these challenges when you meet this in terms of really having sustainable infrastructure?
I think that you know, when the HIV, when antiretroviral drugs were produced, for a while, South Africa and Thabo Mbeki spoke out against them, and I actually, you know, went to South Africa and you know, did a big speech and basically said, look, you know, you're killing tens of thousands of your own people by not giving them antiretroviral drugs. Your health minister is talking garbage, and you know, you're a bright, intelligent president who's, you know, fought for the ANC, and you've done some fantastic things. You know, please allow antiretroviral drugs into South Africa. That this is not a plot by the West. And we got into dialogue, and at the end of the dialogue, we said to each other, you know, what can we have that could come positive out of this? And we decided to form the African CDC, so that, you know, out of a slightly negative initial conversation, an organization could be formed that could do great things in Africa, like the CDC does in America and Europe. And bizarrely, there wasn't a CDC in Africa. And then through the last 2 years, you know, we've been on the phone to the African CDC with our team of people every week, trying to see how we can help. You know, rallying people with deep pockets to, you know, to help. It by no means perfect, but I think you know, it was a little bit better in Africa than it might have been otherwise. So you know, so I think that scientists sometimes need people who can, with a voice, to you know, to get out there. You know, I mean, speak out to the skeptics, which obviously you know, you've had a fair number of skeptics in the last 2 or 3 years, which have been very unhelpful. And you know, answer their fears. Give the people who are out there speaking the information so they can put it to best use to try to educate people.
Yeah, now that's terrific. In the 2 years in which you've been working in the CDC Africa, one of the themes that's come out of our conference is the importance of building bonds of trust, because when you're dealing multiculturally across continents, you know, culture is so different, you have to spend time, I think, to build relationships and trust. Can you talk a little bit about that, the importance of being, as you are, a people person and building those bridges?
Yeah, I mean, relationships are everything. And even if you disagree with somebody, I mean, going back to Taban and Becky, you know, we ended up friends, but despite being from, you know, polar opposite situations. So I think, you know, I mean, if you'd say take the horrible divisive world that we live in, you know, what I do with, you know, if there's somebody with viewpoints that seem to be diametrically opposite of mine, or politics seem to be diametrically opposite, I'll sit down with them, I'll pull out a blank sheet of paper, I'll write down the 25 major issues in the world, you know, capital punishment, drug reform, you know, climate change, etc. Make 2 columns and say, right, which of these 25 things do we agree on, and which of these 25 don't we agree on? And what is surprising is you'll find that even the person with the most extreme views to yours, you'll find out 20 out of 25 most likely you agree on. So then what you do is you say, let's work together on those 20, and on the other 5, let's try to persuade each other. You know, I did this with the eldest son of the Koch brothers, who, you know, you know, we've become great friends. We're doing lots of great things together on criminal justice reform and other things. You know, we have persuaded him on one thing that he wasn't, you know, in agreement with. But you know, but when you actually get down to meet people, you know, most people are thoroughly decent. They've just got, you know, maybe slightly different diverging views, and it's really important to realize that and to embrace people that you might think are so different than you. Generally, they're not.
You know, related to this theme, we noticed that your April book pick was partnering by Jean Owang, who's the founding CEO and president of Virgin Unite, your nonprofit organization. And a key feature of her book was looking at bringing people together on major issues. Tell us a little bit about Virgin Unite and this concept of partnering, and what's active today. What's some of the issues you're working on today?
There's a lot of problems in the world, but I suspect less problems than there were, you know, when my father was in this world or my grandfather was in this world, and there's lots of things going in the right direction. You know, whether it's you know, education, whether it's medicines and so on. So, but Virgin Unite goes in and tries to tackle some of the bigger problems of the world. The Elders is an organization that we've founded with Nelson Mandela and Archbishop Tutu and President Carter and Mary Robinson and others. And they will do their best to try to resolve conflicts. Some they've succeeded, like in Kenya. Others they've failed on, like in, say, Syria. But they're out there trying. They also speak out on, you know, issues like climate change, or they set up an organization called Girls Not Brides to try to get countries to allow girls to go to school and not get married off at 14. So we've set up a number of different organizations like this. I mean, like, you know, we have the Global Drug Commission, which is trying to persuade governments to treat drugs as a health problem, not a criminal problem. You know, we've got 20 ex-presidents on that commission. All of us with one voice think that the current approach is the wrong approach, and we're doing a lot of research and scientific research to prove that the current approach is wrong. You know, the capital punishment. I mean, this week I've been trying to save the life of a young lad who was mentally, he doesn't even know he's about to be executed, and just trying to generally persuade people that in this day and age it is wrong for countries to kill people in order to teach them not to kill people, or to kill people in order to stop them selling drugs. It's normally the small person, in this case, this person was a mule, who crossed the border from Malaysia into Singapore and at age 21. Anyway, we'll use every opportunity we can to try to, get change on a number of different issues. And because I suppose I travel a lot around the world, I can see, I'm learning all the time. And also the fact that I can pick up the phone and get through to pretty well anybody. I've got a chance, but whereas some people may not have a chance if they don't have that face recognition.
Well, we certainly, with that level of connectivity and all the programs you're involved in, we know that this will not be the last pandemic, and our challenge is to develop vaccines for malaria, HIV, and TB. If I read, I've done a bit of reading here recently, I think you're dipping your toes into arenas that overlap with what we're working on at this conference. And one of the biggest challenges is this vaccine hesitancy issue, which is really a huge problem worldwide, and predicted to lead to increases in a variety of infectious diseases. So, from your perspective in terms of this idea of building these partnerships around the world and connectivity, we'd like you to join us in this with regard to the challenges in infectious disease and vaccine hesitancy. But do you want to say a little bit more about, has this come up in conversations? I mean, even when you talk about climate control, when I think about this, I think about changes in climate directly influence the whole flora of microbes in the world and the types of infections we might see going forward. So it's really big on our stage as well. Anything you want to say about that arena, or coming into that arena?
Well, first of all, I'm told that you've just managed, or some of your people maybe in this room have developed a vaccine for malaria. If that is true, that is truly remarkable. I mean, since something like 1 million people a year in Africa die from malaria, and obviously we stopped using DDT in Europe and America, and then told them they couldn't use it in Africa many years ago, and a lot of people have lost their lives. So so that's tremendous, and I don't think you'll if it is good as I've been told, I don't think there'll be a lot of resistance to people taking the malaria vaccine there. Look, we would be delighted to join you in helping campaign on some of these issues, and put the power of our foundation. We've got 40 million followers on the internet, so we could put use that, and we've got other connections we can connect up with. So anything we can do to help.
Well, that sounds terrific. Any parting words or any?
If you produce something.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if you produce something that can save lives, the least we can do is try to make sure we get the message has got out, and getting the message out right and educating people in the right way is critical, and we'll definitely rally around to help, and look forward to that.
That's fantastic. Our time is quite limited together today. We so appreciate your willingness to come on and chat with us today. Do you have any parting words for us? Again, back to your philosophy. How bold should we be going forward to tackle some of these challenges? What would be your perspective? Give us a message to inspire us in leaving today.
As I said at the beginning, screw it, just do it. Good to talk to you all. Cheers.
Well, thank you very much, Richard, for your time, and let's give a round of applause for our conversation with Richard Branson. Thank you, sir.
Keep it coming. Cheers.
Take care now. Bye-bye.
Thank you.